Hello Indie Warriors, welcome to I Dream of Indie Games. My name is Old Gamer Joe, and there's no denying the profound influence many games have had and continue to have on aspiring indie developers. Today we're discussing the 10 most influential games that have made a massive impact on the indie gaming scene. And you know what else is impactful before we get into this list? Quickly heading over to patreon.com/idreamofindiegames, where you can gain Discord access, early ad-free shows, shoutouts at the end of every video we produce, and so much more. But best of all, you'll be supporting indie visibility. Your new indie gaming community is waiting for you. Alright, let's kick this off with number 10, and love it or hate it, the Dark Souls series has had a massive influence on the indie gaming scene, spawning an entire subgenre that began with landmark titles like Demon's Souls and the Dark Souls trilogy. This genre has sparked much controversy, with some gamers loving the intense difficulty and abstract storytelling, while others criticize these games for not respecting players' time. We are, of course, talking about Souls-likes. Regardless, there's no denying the popularity and influence of the genre on indie gaming. We've seen releases like Hollow Knight, Death's Gambit, Titan Souls, Salt and Sanctuary, and the list just goes on. While not all of these games directly follow the Souls-like gameplay loop, they at least borrow ideas and concepts. While I advocate for accessibility options in these games, I also recognize that not every game is for everyone. In the end, there's no denying the massive impact Souls games have had on indie gaming, for better or worse. At number 9 is The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Now I must admit, I wasn't a big fan of this game, but I can't deny its significant influence on many indie releases. Breath of the Wild is far from the first open-world game, yet its physics-based gameplay helped it stand out in a crowded genre. By encouraging players to think creatively with the game's tools, Breath of the Wild opened up new possibilities. Rather than relying on lengthy cutscenes, much of its story was conveyed through environmental clues. Its handcrafted content and dynamic weather features have inspired numerous indie games since its release. Notable examples include the excellent Dungeons of Hinterberg, which I argue is the better game, the cozy A Short Hike that borrows many concepts and themes, and the often underrated Oceanhorn series, particularly the second game. Breath of the Wild will undeniably continue to inspire indie developers who will hopefully expand upon its innovations in fun and exciting ways. Number 8, universally hailed as an outstanding game, Portal has had a massive influence on indie gaming design philosophy. This mind-bending puzzler revolutionized the puzzle gaming genre and introduced a unique sense of humor that few puzzle games had exhibited before. What began as a student project became one of the most beloved games of all time. Created by a small development team, Portal avoided traditional combat and weapons in favor of a portal gun, used to escape the infamous Aperture Science Enrichment Center. Its innovative puzzle design has had a profound impact on indie developers, and its iconic voice performances and characters are often imitated in puzzle games today. The influence of Portal extends beyond puzzle games, inspiring releases such as Splitgate, a multiplayer shooter that incorporates portals as a key gameplay element. Additionally, games like the Talos Principle, Cube, Trine, and even Fez have all benefited from the innovative concepts introduced by Portal. Going forward, it's hard to imagine not seeing even more indie releases continuing to be inspired by Portal's greatness. I remember being blown away by BioShock when I first played it, and with good reason. The underwater city of Rapture immediately drew me into its haunting world, a city that remains iconic and forever ingrained in the minds of gamers today. While BioShock was masterful in capturing an incredible environment, the narrative was equally compelling and continues to spark conversations among gamers. The Little Sisters were incredibly creepy, and making the choice of whether to harvest them was brutally tough. BioShock is, of course, at number 7 on this list. From a gameplay standpoint, BioShock also stood out from other FPS releases with its unique plasmid system, allowing players to take down foes in exciting ways and manipulate their environment. With its philosophical themes, replay value, great enemy AI, and haunting sound design, BioShock is a phenomenal series that has inspired many indie developers. Fantastic indie releases such as Soma, Amnesia, Bendy and the Ink Machine, and We Happy Few are just a few that have felt the influence of this classic franchise. I'd love to see more BioShock in the future, too. At number 6, this one should be pretty obvious, as Journey has had a massive impact on indie game developers. Few games are this beautiful without expressing a single word. Journey's striking visuals featuring an expansive desert provide the perfect backdrop for an emotional narrative experience. The use of visual cues and powerful music work to magnificent effect as a story of loss and rebirth reveals itself. Journey also offers a fantastic multiplayer experience where you encounter other travelers on their own journeys, but they're unable to speak to you. The simplicity of the controls further enhances the immersion. Never had a game that only takes a handful of hours to complete had such a lasting impact on me. Indie games inspired by Journey include the likes of Gris, Abzu, and Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, just to name a few. Journey is so well known today that we sometimes forget it started as a small indie. Looking ahead, I foresee even more releases being inspired by the simplicity and beauty of Journey, which is undoubtedly an indie gaming classic. While many of you have been enjoying Hades 2 in early access, let's not forget the game that started it all. The original Hades kicked off a craze of indie developers adding roguelike elements to their games, a decision that, much like with Souls-like titles, is either loved or despised by gamers today. Still, there's no denying the impact that this game has had, not just on indies, but on gaming as a whole. Unraveling more of the story with each death is fascinating. The game's fast-paced combat was beloved, and its visuals were extremely impressive for an indie release. So while some gamers might point to Hades as a catalyst for now shoehorned roguelike elements, it is a great game that deserves respect and recognition, and it has certainly received that since its release, inspiring indies such as Slay the Spire, Dreamscaper, and even the AAA title Returnal. Hades wasn't the first roguelike out there by any means, but the way it told its story through gameplay was second to none, and it remains a massively influential title. Celeste, one of the most popular indie games ever released, and with good reason. Celeste boldly tackled topics involving mental health while simultaneously delivering brutally challenging platforming action. As someone with anxiety disorder, I immediately fell in love with its relatable storytelling. And yes, while it was a steep mountain to climb, Celeste also did an amazing job of offering accessibility options, making it possible for more players to complete it. Artistically stunning, Celeste is a visual and audio tour de force that features some of the best precision platforming you'll ever come across. There's no shortage of indie game releases inspired by Celeste, but in my opinion, that's only a good thing. On to the top 3 then! As a huge fan of games like Earthbound, I was instantly delighted when I first played Undertale. Its quirky, offbeat humor and charming visuals reminded me of that great SNES classic, yet Undertale's amazing combat engine was unlike anything I had experienced before. By blending traditional RPG mechanics with bullet hell gameplay that was also kind of reminiscent of WarioWare minigames, Undertale was an absolute riot from beginning to end. The game questioned the player's morality by offering the option to spare the lives of enemies, an amazing storytelling mechanic supported by an unforgettable cast of characters. It's endlessly charming, laugh-out-loud funny, and has significant replay value. I won't bore you with all the details because I'm sure you know them by now, but Undertale is a true indie classic. It has inspired such releases as Omori, Pony Island with its fourth wall-breaking elements, the excellent Everhood, and one of my favorites this year, Athenian Rhapsody. The impact of Undertale will undoubtedly continue to be felt for many years to come. What now, you didn't think I would skip this one, did you? Number 2 is going to be the Metroid series. Metroid, as part of what spawned the Metroidvania genre, it's in the title, has had a massive influence on indie game development. The series' use of non-linear exploration, unique power-ups that persist throughout the game, and constant backtracking have inspired countless indie games. With a heavy focus on exploration, the Metroid series also features thrilling combat, massive maps to explore, memorable characters and bosses, and epic soundtracks. I could be here all day listing inspirations, but let's go with, Guacamelee, Hollow Knight, Axiom Verge, The Messenger, you get the point. The Metroidvania genre is massive today, thanks in part to Samus and her epic journeys, which of course leads us to number 1, you can't have Metroid without the Vania. The other source of inspiration behind the Metroidvania genre is, of course, the Castlevania series. While most gamers point to Castlevania Symphony of the Night specifically, other games in the franchise, like Castlevania II Simon's Quest, had already experimented with non-linear gameplay. It's important to acknowledge those earlier titles in Castlevania history as well. Even still, there's no denying that Symphony of the Night was instrumental in the creation of the Metroidvania genre. Its blend of RPG mechanics with classic Castlevania gameplay through a more open world feels like a blueprint for countless indie games today. And with the Metroidvania genre only growing in popularity, the series' influence will likely be felt for decades to come. And that wraps up this list, folks, but let us know in the comments below which games you think have influenced and will continue to shape indie gaming development. Voice to the voiceless, and thank you for watching.